everyone, my name's Jessica. Welcome to my channel, Alpacas and Stitches. I'm a knitter, cross stitcher, yarn dyer, and I also raise alpacas, hence the name Alpacas and Stitches. I'm going to talk to you today about some of the projects I've been working on. We're going to start with cross stitch. So this is my oldest cross stitch whip. I started it in May 1st, 2022. The pattern is called Favorite Toy, and that is by Diane Allaire, and it's from Custom Crafts Incorporated. It's a fairly old pattern. My goal for this year is to do 2 more pages, which will mean at the end of the year I should only have 2 pages left to do. And this is where I am at on that. I haven't worked on it yet this year. I'm planning to start that in a few weeks here. I have another project I am currently trying to finish. So there's a closer view. And that is on 14 count Aida and with the called for DMCs. My next cross stitch whip is Peony by Shannon Christine. And here's what that one looks like. And then here is where I am on this. This one I have been primarily working on my lunch breaks the last couple months. I want to get this one done before I start anything new. And I just have filling in on this flower here and then write peony up, or stitch peony up above there. This is on 18 count Aida in the color Stormy Night using the called for DMC. My next whip is Falling Snow. Oh, and I started that one, sorry, on 5/20/25. And my next one is Falling Snow by Shannon Christine. I started this one on January 3rd, 2023. This is my snow day whip. And so when I started this one, there wasn't a plan to finish it anytime soon. Just work on it every year when it snows, when I can. It is stitched on 14 count Aida in the color Caribbean Blue with the called for DMCs. And this is where I am on that. I was a little unsure about all the white, but stitching it on such a fun colored fabric makes doing the white pretty easy. And it's nice not to have to change colors all the time. I have one that I recently finished. It's called Wreck the Halls by Silver Creek Samplers, and I will try to put a picture right here. I have a friend that is going to fully finish that for me since I am not very good at that. So I was lucky enough to find a friend who could do that for me. So next on to knitting. Can't talk today. Knitting. Start with my oldest whip. I am knitting this for my friend's husband, Bill. My friend Wendy and her husband have a sheep farm where they raise Leicester's long wools, and we did a collaboration a few years back with her sheep and my alpacas. Actually, the first one was 6 years ago, and we liked it so much we did it again with 3 different sets of animals. So this combination is their sheep Juris and my alpaca Kenai, who you will meet later in the show. It's a 70% Leicester long wool, 30% alpaca. The pattern is 20909 by Lang Yarns. And I used the pattern for the structure of the sweater, and then Bill wanted lots of cables. And so I did the cable design myself. Let me see if I can hold this up so you can, maybe I'll just hold up the back because that's probably the easiest part to see. Bill is like 6'7". He is very tall, so this is going to be a very long sweater. I started this in July 26, 2023, so I've been working on it for almost 3 years. It's not easy knitting a sweater for someone else, especially when they live more than 100 miles away. So we're scheduled to do another fitting next weekend, and then hopefully if everything goes well, I can get the sleeves done. I've got the first one started, but I don't want to get too far into it until we do another try on because I don't want to have to rip an entire sleeve out if I have to redo the back or the collar or something. It's been a challenge, but it is so gratifying to work with yarn that you've created yourself. And I know once it's done, I'm going to love it. And I will post pictures for sure of Bill modeling it once it is done. My next knitting whip is the Ooey Gooey Sweater by Andrea Mowry. And I started this last fall. One of my favorite yarn dyers, oh, I got yarn everywhere here, did a Rhinebeck yarn collection. And I wasn't going to start anything new. I was on a yarn buying ban. I had done pretty well until this point. But I just thought these colors would look so good together. And then when she posted about the Ooey Gooey Sweater, I couldn't resist doing this color combination. So the pink is her Blush Cornmeal, and the green is the Hill. And I've heard a lot of other people complain about these welts. I didn't think they were too bad. I especially like that you got the different color in between, so it made it much easier to pick up the welts and stitch them together. Doing welts on one color is actually a lot harder, I found. But I've got the body almost done. This is a sport weight yarn. It's a 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. So that'll help it hold up better than a 100% superwash yarn. I will never knit a solely superwash yarn sweater again because they stretch out like you would not believe. Next on my list, and you're going to see Vita Lifestyles yarn a lot in my projects. I've been buying a lot of yarn from her. She's probably the only, other than buying yarn from my local yarn store, she's the only dyer that I really buy from anymore. So I am knitting a muscle burrow. This stitch marker here is where I was at in January. I started this on August 17th, 2025. I like to always have one of these on the needles just because it's a great project for working on in the car. I went to my movie with my sister last night, and this stitch marker, I was like two rows above that, and that I knitted all that while watching the movie. We went to see the movie Solo Mio, that new Kevin James rom-com. It was really cute. I would definitely recommend it if you like rom-coms. My goal with the muscle burrows is to eventually knit one for all the men in my family, all my nephews, my brother-in-laws, and my niece's significant others. I knit a lot of stuff for my sisters and my nieces, and my one nephew's wife. So I thought I should maybe start working on some stuff for the guys too. And I don't really want to knit them socks because the only person I knit socks for really is myself and people who have the same size feet as me. I should probably get better at it, at making different sizes, but I haven't yet. All right, my next whip is a gnome. And this is Savor the Gnomit by Sarah Shira. I started this one in January. I started actually on January 4th. And this one, she's a big girl. The hat will actually be folded over. And then she's going to have some little knitting needles. She's actually knitting her own hat. So it'll be about that tall, which is a pretty good size gnome. And I decided to leave this little ball attached. I'm going to try and figure out how to leave it attached without it completely unrolling. I think I'm going to need to add some glue there. But I plan to finish this actually today. I just finished blocking it. So I'm going to stuff it, and then I just have the bottom to do and to knit her arms and her nose. That's all I have left to knit is the bottom of it and her arms and her nose. And then she will be done. And then yesterday I had a bit of an impulse start. I knew I'd be finishing this gnome shortly, and I want to try and do a gnome each month this year. I've also been wanting to do a Valentine's gnome. So I got a yarn or Valentine's box from, again, Vita Lifestyles. Oh, sorry. Let's go back to Savor the Gnome. So this yarn is all from Leadingman Fiber Arts. This is, I believe it's called Sugar Plum Fairy. Can't remember what this lighter pink color is, or this bright pink. The purple is Purple Rain, and then I lost the tag for this one as well, this blue. But that's all Leading Men Fiber Arts. My local yarn store has a whole wall of their minis, which makes it really nice for me when I'm making gnomes. Sorry, and then we'll go back to the next gnome, which was, again, I said was my impulse start. And this one is All Work Gnome Play, which is actually one of my favorite gnomes. I've knit several of them. She has mittens. That's probably my favorite part about her. So I'm almost done with the hat. I just started yesterday. The colors I'm using are called, this one is Savoir. And then for the body, I'm going to use this one, which is called Flower Shop. And this one is Les Maisons Rose. And the theme of this Valentine's kit, which I'll show you the rest of the kit in just a minute here, is Emily in Paris. So I couldn't resist. I love Emily in Paris. It's such a fun show. And when I wasn't going to buy a Valentine's box either, but her Vita's themes are so good. So this is the rest of the box. And with these two, I am going to make a pair of socks. And then the rest, those are really good gnome colors. So I'll probably use the rest of those for gnomes. All right, so now we're on to plans. Like I said, I'm going to be trying to knit a gnome a month. And I don't know which gnome I'm going to knit next month, but I should be finishing Savor the Gnome this weekend. The other one I may even finish this weekend too. That's a pretty quick knit. I'm going to be focusing on Bill's sweater after we do our next try-on next week. After I get that sweater, my focus will be on my Ooey Gooey. And then I hope to start some new stuff. I really want to make a poncho with one of my yarn advents. And I think I might save that one for Advent this year. I don't like to do an Advent project while I'm opening up the Advent because I like to see all the colors. I might want to turn them or mix them around so that they match better for me. That's why I want to wait. So I'll use an old Advent to do an Advent project this year. There's two other sweaters that I really want to make this year. Let me find my paperwork. And I actually have all the yarn for them already. Now I gotta find, I wrote all this down. Where is it? Anyways, we'll get, I guess I'll talk about those. My other notebook. I have too many notebooks. Anyone else like that? Have a notebook for every project? So the other sweaters I want to work on. So the poncho that I want to do for my Advent project, that's the Corey Inn for Advent poncho. And if I think of it, I'll post a picture here. I want to do the Autumn League pullover. And I can't read my writing to say who that's by. And Solaire by Hoki Locatelli. And I'm actually planning to do that with some yarn from my project, or my collaboration with my friend Wendy. Another goal for this year is to do a doodle, some kind of doodle pattern. I haven't decided what, but I thought that would be fun. And Alpine Bloom hat, which I started last May. I don't have it right here by me. I want to finish that. And I have a new cross stitch start that I've been waiting since last fall to start. And that is from Autumn Lane Stitchery. It's the Mermaid Marina, and that's what that's going to look like. I have all the flosses, and I've been experimenting with dyeing fabric, and I'm not going to apologize for not ironing this yet because it's just going to be going in my project bag, and as I work with it, it will soften up, and it's going to be wrinkled anyway. So that is the fabric I'm going to use. It's 18 count Aida that I dyed with Rit dye. I actually took several attempts to get this color, and what I eventually ended up doing, there's some purple underneath, and then I over dyed it with a combination of emerald green and I think navy, because I didn't want it to be too green. I wanted more blue or more of a teal. And when I bought the teal, it was really, originally the fabric looked kind of like Sully from Monsters Inc. And so when I used the teal for it, so that's why I did it this way. I'm really happy with how it came out. I think it's gonna go great with the pattern. And I'm gonna start that as soon as I finish Peony. One other thing I wanted to show you, actually 2 other things. I'll post a picture of my most recent finishes because those have already gone to their new homes. I knit frogs for my friends Julie and Janie. And about a year and a half ago, I knit one for a smalls exchange in my stitching group, and then everyone wanted one, so I probably knit about 30 of them in the last year. It's been a lot, and the pattern is Good Frog by Susan B. Anderson. And I will warn you, it is a very tedious pattern. There's lots of little parts, and they're very cute, but they're very tedious. So my other finish that I have on hand is, this is Nandad. It was the Mystery December knit for Imagine Landscapes, who designed the other gnomes that I'm currently knitting. And these again are Leading Men Fiber Arts colors. I don't remember the names. He's got little skis, and he's got little ski poles too, but I put those away because my cats kept stealing them. And I joke with my family that other than the skis, this gnome is like the gnome version of my dad, because he's even got suspenders and he's got a bushy beard and mustache. Look at his little suspenders in the back. It's so cute. And he is the companion to last year's December gnome, Nana. All right, so next we're gonna go visit the alpacas. Stay tuned. Good morning, ladies. How are you doing? It's beautiful today, isn't it? It has been unseasonably warm. Look at all that mud. Ugh, about lose my shoes walking into it. But can't complain when it's sunny and nice like this. So it is February 14th. And it's so warm that I can actually use the hose to fill up my water bucket. Things like here. So let's catch up with what's been going on with the alpacas. When I did my last video, Toby had just been born, which was absolutely thrilling. He's perfect. He's 2.5 years old now and doing really well. I'll show him to you in a little bit here. And we were waiting on Monica, who is right there, just out of camera view. Let me just turn this just a smidge. There's Monica. So we were waiting on Monica to have her cria, and she did a few weeks later. Unfortunately, that cria had some very severe birth defects. I actually recorded several videos, but I just never could bring myself to post them. And he passed away about 5 days after he was born. And he was just, oh, he was beautiful. He had a condition called clonal atresia, which is like a blockage between the nasal passageway and the throat, I mean, there's no way to avoid them getting aspiration pneumonia, which he did very shortly after being born. And Monica was absolutely heartbroken. I've never seen an alpaca grieve like that. I found him, I came out and found him that he passed away, so I started to carry him out of the pen, and she came running, and she just sniffed him all over, and I just stood there and let her do that for several minutes, and then finally she walked away. And the next time I came back out, she came up to me like she was looking for him, like, what did I do with her baby? And she just stood there and she just let me hug her, and like, oh, she just, every time I came out, she was looking for him. She was looking for me to bring him back. That took several days. I I haven't bred any of the alpacas since then. Did you hear your name, huh? And I decided last year that I'm going to be downsizing my farm a bit, not because I don't want to have alpacas, but I'm getting older and it's getting harder for me to keep up with things. I'm having a lot of hand pain, which doesn't work very well with cleaning barns and knitting and cross stitch and all those things. So I want to have to do less of that harder physical labor. And I didn't expect things I didn't expect to downsize as fast as I did. Since last February, I've actually lost 5 alpacas. I'm down to only 10. And like I said, I'm not planning to quit anytime soon. I love it. I can't imagine my life without them. But I do need to take care of myself as well. And like I said, with the hand pain, it makes it hard to do a lot of things, including take care of them. So having less, actually, I can take care of them better, I feel like. There's less mess to clean up. And then I can still do the other things that I love. With that being said, since the most recent loss was last Saturday, my oldest alpaca, Vanilla Cappuccino, passed away. She was 19, and that one, I mean, they're all hard, but Vanilla Cappuccino is the reason I started raising alpacas. I'd gone out for supper with a friend of mine, and she had been raising alpacas for several years and was decided to move from Alaska to Missouri because it was cheaper to raise alpacas in Missouri than Alaska for the obvious reasons. And one of the things she was talking about was taking care of other alpacas as a way to create income for her farm. So that night after supper, I went home and started researching, and I found Vanilla Cappuccino's picture online. There used to be a website called Alpaca Nation, and I sent Julie the picture, and I'm like, what do you think of this, or the information, and like, what do you think about this alpaca? And like, I'm thinking about buying them. When could I board her at your farm? And she's like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, well, what should I ask the breeder? What should I find out about her? And so she gave me a list of questions. I sent them to her, or sent them to the breeder, got them back. And about 3 months later, Vanilla Cappuccino, along with her herd mate, Snow White, moved to my friend's farm. This was back in 2008. In 2010, Julie decided to get out of the business, and I actually bought what was left of her herd and moved them all to Minnesota. I should say when Vanilla Cappuccino when I bought her, she was pregnant with Ivy, who is that one right there with her head buried in the hay wagon. So Vanilla, we've had a cold spell. Well, now we're having a warm spell, but we had a really cold spell for about half of January, and Vanilla Cappuccino developed pneumonia. I treated her with her antibiotics, and at first she seemed to be responding. She was doing really well, and then she took a turn for the worse and passed away 2 days later. And it really hits hard. I haven't posted it on a little tongue-tied there. Haven't posted about it on any of my social medias just because when I've done that in the past, people haven't always been very kind, and I don't understand how anyone can be so unkind, but there's always someone who just likes to needle people when they're down. But I'll post it here because I can give a better explanation. Like I said, she was 19. That's fairly elderly for an alpaca. And until she had pneumonia, she was doing really well. Most of my alpacas, when they get to their mid-teens, they start having trouble keeping weight on no matter how much they eat. And I was talking to the breeder that I bought Vanilla Cappuccino from a few years back, and he's like, yeah, they get up in the upper teens, and it's just almost impossible to keep weight on them. And they start to decline, and when that decline starts, it goes really fast, and she never did that. It was the pneumonia that took her out. If she hadn't had pneumonia, she probably would have lived to be 20 or older. So there's been a few other challenges with raising alpacas these last several years. I haven't had a veterinarian since 2020, and I've called every large animal vet in my area and where I'm located. None of them want to come. It's too far for them. And so I've been doing most of it on my own. I've also, just last fall, the store where I bought all my alpaca feed from decided to stop selling animal feed. They had a garden center and they sold different kinds of animal feeds, chicken feeds, they sold bird feed, horse feed, pretty much anything. And they stopped selling that last fall, so now I have to order my food from Chewy. There are other places locally where I possibly could go, but I've taken on a second job in the last year, and generally my only day off is Sunday, which most of those places are closed. So now I get it from Chewy and it gets delivered right to my door, which does make my life a little easier, but I do miss seeing my friends at the feed store. So like I said, there's been a lot of challenges, but I'm not giving up. I'm just slowing down a bit, and I'm going to take you around and introduce you to the alpacas that I have left. All right. So let's see, running away from me, that's Nestle. And there's Ivy, that was Vanilla Cappuccino's first cria. And then there's Kenai, Monica, Hershey, and Miss Phoebe. I also got a bunch of chickens last spring. That was another rough thing. I had a raccoon kill most of my chickens. I wasn't going to get more chickens, but my dad really wanted chickens, so he bought them. And then we built a coop for the chickens inside the alpaca pen, so there's a little extra measure of safety there. And the old chicken coop is about falling down, and there were several spots where the raccoon could get in, and instead of repairing that, we just decided to build this new one right in here. And so far it's been working really well. All right, now we're gonna go see the boys, and there's more chickens. And first up is Charlie. And Charlie is in a pen all by himself because he's a bully. And he's beating up all the other boys. And the three other boys are in a much smaller pen. This actually I want to be Charlie's pen, but he did a number on the fence and kept jumping over it. So hopefully this summer we'll get that reinforced so he can move in here. And these three cuties can have the bigger pen. So this is Andy's. Hello, handsome. And then this one here, that's Toby. He was a baby in my last video. And then there's Sven. Hi, Sven. He's such a ham. All right, well, that is it for this time. My plan is to do a video about once a month. That will probably be the max, is once a month, and keep you updated. We're heading into the busy season on the farm here. Be spring cleaning the barns, getting ready for shearing, getting fiber off to the mill hopefully this year. So I'm going to share a few memories of Vanilla Cappuccino at the end here. Enjoy those, and I will see you next month. Bye.